UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse. I'm Tim Benz with Ellis Cannon on Sportsnet, Pittsburgh, and ESPN. Plus, it is time for Duquesne basketball, brought to you by UPMC and the UPMC Health Plan, the official health plan of the Duquesne Dukes. The Richmond Spiders in town tonight at 3-0. One of 3 unbeaten teams atop the Atlantic 10. The Dukes still looking for their first conference victory. And it's a tall task tonight, Ellis, because they're going up against Jordan King, the co-player of the week in the conference, along with Deron Holmes, who just played here at the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse with Dayton. King is coming off a 31-point effort against George Mason, and now the Dukes have to figure out a way to score some points and keep up with him and the Spiders without Day-Day Grant, who can't play tonight due to being the concussion protocol.
Well, that's significant. Obviously, Day-Day impacts the game dramatically, offensively and defensively. So we're going to see Jake DeMichael in. We're going to be following that. True freshman. He's played a solid game the last 2, so we'll see where that ultimately leads. Remember, Day-Day, he speeds you up defensively, and he's a killer with the three-pointer, so it could be a big take there for him not to be there. And when you finally take a look at Richmond, they have won 6 straight games. That is tied for 13th nationally, and their game is starting to come together.
Let's take a look at the starting lineups tonight, brought to you by UPMC and the UPMC Health Plan. We'll start things off with Richmond there in the red. You see Jordan King wearing number 2, had a couple of big shots late against Loyola to help them win that game. And then with 31 against Mason, he was electric, sparkling, was perfect, 7 for 7 to start, and really pushed the Spiders to their 3rd victory a couple of nights ago. And for the Duquesne Dukes, as Ellis pointed out, Jake DeMichael will get into the starting lineup for the first time, replacing Day-Day Grant. You also see Dusan Mahorcic getting into the starting lineup because Keith Dambrot wants to see offense from the post position.
You know, Tim, you make a great point. Coach Mooney, of course, talking a lot about what he's seeing with his guys, and it'll be interesting to see if they're going to continue to develop that shooting performance that King put on the other night was something he doesn't think he's ever seen a Spider do before, at least in that first half.
It was kind of a running joke in the first half of the game as King right away penetrates, kicks it back out. As the broadcast team for Richmond was saying, speaking of Jordan, go to the old Dean Smith line, that the only guy who could ever slow down Michael Jordan was Dean Smith. And Chris Mooney actually took King out while he was perfect from the floor because he felt like Mason was starting to run guys at him after coming off of ball screens and inbounded the ball. Their immediate double teams on him. They just wanted to think about something else for a minute.
Yeah, right. Well, I tell you
Calm down the action, the defensive action against him, and it worked as he came off the bench and was electric. Coming off the bench and can't get his first shot off without an offensive foul, so a good defensive start for Duquesne.
What we did see in the first half of that defensive possession, if you will, was very, very interesting, and it is, of course, the Princeton theme that Chris Mooney runs, and you'll see everybody touching the ball, different positions, a lot of interchangeability.
Good play on defense, getting in front of Trey Williams is Isaiah Bigelow, who goes the length of the court to lay it in. Good defensive performance, 12 points and 8 rebounds last time against George Mason as well. Did it all in the front court for the Spiders.
He's a good player. He can shoot it.
A screen from Mahorcic. Now Clark will drive, and he's fouled on the way to the hoop. And Neil Quinn picks up his first. Ellis, let's get to the keys to tonight's game as we paint with the broad brush, brought to you by Sherwin-Williams.
Well, for Duquesne, we're talking about defensive discipline. Richmond is old school Princeton. No defensive discipline, no good. No mauling. Keith Dambrot says his inside guys have been beaten up in recent losses. We want to watch for that. And go hunting. Dambrot also wants to, quote, hunt energy-generating behavior. Sounds like Mike Tomlin there a little bit. Not only making shots. As for Richmond, chill out a little. Coach Mooney wants his team to relax when things go against it on the road, and that's inevitable. Offensive flow, the Dukes will try to disrupt it, but defending positionless basketball isn't easy. We've already seen that. And adjusting on defense, Richmond feels it can do so in-game and in timeouts to impact the opponent's balance. We'll keep an eye on all of those through the game.
Quinn goes with the push shot with the right hand, and they like that. Neil Quinn, he's a facilitator from the post position. A guy you wanted to focus on is your player to watch, and one thing to watch from him is the emphasis to to get more scoring from him. He's great at distributing the ball. They want to see him score a bit more.
Well, when you're 7 foot or 6'11", 260, described by Keith Dambrot as a monster, yeah, you would expect that, but he is very much that guy who could facilitate from the 5 despite being that size. Very, very high basketball IQ.
13.5 points per game for Quinn, so he can score. They just want him to keep in mind, be aggressive. If you got your shot, take it. His instinct is to pass first and set up the offenses. That time, scored with the basketball was Delani Hunt, but a big defensive assignment coming in tonight. He was supposed to be the guy who was supposed to guard Day-Day Grant, but now late word coming in tonight at the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse that Grant wasn't going to be able to play. So you talked about adjusting, and that's one adjustment that the Spiders will frankly be happy to make if 18.5 points per game comes out of the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, if we start the roll call of what he's done offensively and his overall game, we'd be here for a while. Just take it from us. If you've watched Duquesne and know Duquesne and done these broadcasts with us, you know the type of impact, again, he can have both ways.
Fortune makes a move to the goal, and Duquesne will inbound underneath with Kareem Rozier to Michael. Quick trigger for DeMichael. Off the front rim, no good, and Richmond gets the rebound. DeMichael, 19 minutes, 12 points against Dayton. And Keith Dambrot really likes his floor game, likes his basketball IQ, knows he can shoot it, and earned minutes, earned the spot to be the guy behind Clark and Grant. Now Clark with the steal. Transition, lays it in, lefty, and Duquesne gets 2 from Clark, and that's important to get him going offensively and to get him going from defense to offense. That's where he lives. That's his transition game, and one of the best in the country when it comes to stealing the basketball, and you saw evidence of that right there.
I shortened the quote when I said hunting, energy-generating behaviors, but that was part of what Keith Dambrot had in mind.
Now hunting for 2, but he can't get there cleanly. Walled off to Michael to pick up the loose change. Stops at the A-10 logo, kicks it back out to Rozier. Will enter to Mahorcic. Backs in on Bigelow. 3 dribbles with the right to Trey Williams back in the starting lineup tonight. Uses the window and ties it up.
Thought Bailey was going to get his hand in there, just throw up that pass right before it happened. Good play, finish.
He gets the high screen from Walls. Uses it, drives. A little too firm, and Trey Williams will get the board. Clark knifes his way. Good angle around Walls, and now Duquesne out in front early, 8-6.
A lot of jump early for Clark. He definitely explodes. He's dynamic. He'll take it to the hoop just as well as anybody in the country.
One thing I'm sure they're thinking from Clark is still stay within yourself. You don't have to score your 15 and Day-Day's 18 tonight.
That's a great point.
Let the points be distributed between everybody else. Pick it up a little bit, sure, but don't force things too much because, frankly, for both those guys, it's been an issue in conference play. Mahorcic all by himself, 4 3-pointer. Rebound by Walls. A couple players tumble to the court. That's Bailey and Trey Williams. Richmond spreads it out. Hunt gets low and gets it knocked away by Mahorcic. All by himself in the corner, though, is Bailey. Eyes it, nails it. Puts the Spiders back up by 1.
Bailey is one of those, I guess, called system guys who's able to be relied on with his experience. Typically, Bigelow is a shooter and Bailey is the defender, but obviously that didn't run the script right there with the big 3 ball.
It's a probing effort by Kareem Rozier to run the arc and pull up beyond the elbow.
Well, forget the timeouts, Tim. This half will be over in 14 minutes and 42 seconds.
Clark might need a break on King. This is a tough assignment from defensively, too, as now King pulls up within the 3-point arc, and he wanted to be sharper in that area going into the game against George Mason. He's been sparkling from outside. In fact, 11 of his last 14 3-pointers have fallen. 57% from the floor. He still thinks he can be better from 2-point range. Expressed that, but everything was good against Mason.
Well, the last 2 games, they got him the honor of co-player of the week. The man shot 57% from the field. He shot 79% from 3. He's been out of his mind.
That brings us to our first time out. Of course, as Ellis first mentions it, we get a stoppage in play. 11 to 10, Spiders out in front. Time for a break in the action, brought to you by Cordia, creating energy solutions.
The warp rift is expanding. All worlds within the Calaxian Veil will be consumed.
This difficulty demands a specialist.
Big five, he facilitates very well offensively, creating shots all over the court. Tim, you were talking about him taking more shots. He is averaging 13-3, 61 assists. As a big five man, that's number one on the team.
And the way that Chris Mooney described it was kind of an evolution of the position that they feel like they were out in front of with the way he runs things, not only for the Princeton system, but how things have built in the 19 years he's been at Richmond. But he sees it more and more often now, players at the five position being used as quasi-point men in the post. And
so that was Marshall.
They feel like they've got a good one.
Yeah.
Sharansky can do a little of that from sort of the forward position, as he's out there right now, and now Fusini Drame from the corner gives the Dukes the lead as we continue to ping pong back and forth early. And boy, that's good to see one of the Drame twins get going quickly.
Well, Fu, I think, came in only 9 points away from 1,000. That certainly is going to help that cause.
And a turnover here, that's rare for Richmond. Drame to Clark in the front court for a dunk. Oh, points off of turnovers. When you can get it against the Spiders, cash in.
No question about that. Excellent turnover numbers, nationally ranked for the Spiders.
Best in the conference when it comes to assist-to-turnover ratio at 1.62.
There's one area, actually, we saw with that break right there where Duquesne was good against Dayton. Otherwise, they really didn't do as well in the paint with second chances.
Well, Dixon, he's happy to see Richmond. He was 5 for 5 on the floor against them last year, the one time these teams played against each other.
Yes, he was. And it's good to see his offensive game starting to develop. He's up to 6 points in change right now. Second-year man out of Memphis.
Kane gets away from Rozier.
It's tipped off the wrist of Walls back out to Mikael Tyne, who's checked into the game for the first time for Richmond. Now Bigelow dumping it down to Walls, who's guarded by Dixon. Rozier sticking with time. Shot clock down to 1. They better hurry, and Bailey can't get it off. Well, it's the second really good defensive extended possession that Duquesne has had. First one of the game, and that one right there.
Absolutely.
I want to get back to Ronsky, who we mentioned is in the ball game early. That was something that Keith Dambrod told us what happened. They want to see more of him, especially against this team, and especially as they try to find the right formula. Boy, Dambrod used that word a lot in his post-game comments after the loss to Dayton.
Yeah, there's no question. And, you know, when you take a look at Ronsky, the kid's big, 6'8". He's very, very smart. He's somebody the coach talks a lot about in that regard. But he had to get himself back into the position physically where he's able to contribute. Like you said, winless in the conference. Not a bad time to have that start.
Duquesne hitting 7 of its first 12 shots. As Dambrod has already spread out the minutes. Handoff goes to Ronsky. He'll take it left-handed, use the window no good, and put it back in the game. Clears the glass.
That's a great start shooting, though, despite that, because you take a look at Duquesne, they're facing a defense 30th in the country in terms of field goals against. So it's a challenge against this outfit in a variety of different ways.
Tyler Harris getting some minutes. He's watched by Ronsky. There we see Quinn distributing from up high. Bailey with the drive on Fusini Drame. That was nicely done. Turned his back into him, got some leverage on him, and finished nicely.
Strong finish, Tim. I liked that. I actually wanted him to take the 3. Thought he had space to do so. Got the 2, and that's great, too.
Nearly 7 points against Mason. 7-point win for the Spiders. And King was very complimentary of his teammate. As Rozier continues to do well from three-point. He's their leading three-point percentage shooter from outside. He's been comfortable taking that shot pretty much all year.
That's his 58th shot from beyond the arc and this season, and he's shooting at about 45%, to your point.
He's going to get whistled for a foul away from the ball. We'll come back and kind of reset a little bit more about how Jordan King lit the A-10 on fire this week. We'll talk about that when we come back from the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse.
from Ireland, or has Irish descent. Was born there, actually. And we can take a look at Quinn. We see a guy that got some time with their national team over the summer.
No good, rolls off. Drame had it momentarily. Now goes to DeMichael. Second effort. He'll draw the foul on the drive.
You know, Tim, you've talked a lot about Hunt, and certainly understandable for a variety of reasons. And yes, he is a transfer. Now, that's not something that Chris Mooney has done a lot. If you take a look historically, that's just simply foreign to how Chris Mooney has done this. I believe that over 7 transfers, his first 17 years he took. 7. He's taken 6 in the last 2 years.
Yeah, 3 this year and 3 last.
You have to change. You have to adapt.
Because the way he describes it, it makes the process so much easier when the guys that you get pay dividends and pay dividends quickly. It makes you feel like you're being rewarded in the process. He said, I don't know if anybody got a better one than we got in Jordan King. As DeMichael makes the second free throw, the Dukes back out by 6. With DeMichael plus 5 against Dayton. You mentioned the 19 minutes and 12 points. And Keith Dambrot was looking for a consistent guard behind Rozier, Dede Grant, and Jimmy Clark. And if he can get those minutes from DeMichael, especially when Grant comes back, and maybe he's not exposed to as much time as he will be tonight, that could be a key component for Duquesne moving forward. As Dixon fights hard for the loose ball, it goes off of Dixon. He thought it went off a punt, but it goes out of bounds and stays with the Spiders. As far as Keith Dambrot, head coach of the Duquesne Dukes, 100 victories now with Duquesne. Last time you and I did a game, it was here against Cleary where he got career win number 100, and now desperately searching for 101 here in conference play. He's convinced they've still got a good team and one that can do some damage in the A-10, even though they've gotten off to the slow start. As Roach misses one from way outside. He's the guy that buried the jump shot that buried Duquesne in the big comeback for the Spiders against the Dukes last year, where they came back from 22 down. Roach hit a shot with just 7.5 seconds left to give Richmond the victory.
It's the biggest comeback they had in the 21st century, according to their game notes.
Up fake from Clark. Now he's in front of the bench. Gets it down low to Williams, who's going to have to get one off before the buzzer, and he does. Just before the shot clock expires, Trey Williams with a field goal.
Working his way toward 1,000 like a few of his teammates. Inside of 50 now. A lot of starts.
Whoa. Clark falls down, shaken by Hunt, but he loses the ball and goes right to Clark anyway. Control break for Clark. Gives it back to DeMichael. DeMichael misses it, and it goes over to Richmond. And controlled by Hunt, who speeds forward and a little too out of control. Baseball pass from Clark back to Williams. Front court. Can't get the touch, and now DeMichael is blocked from behind by Walls. It's a little erratic back and forth here for both teams.
Doesn't play. Fan of that. Stop and start stuff gets old, man. I can't lie to you. Having some pace to it, even if it gets a little physical, I'm more okay with that.
Keith Dambrot didn't like the non-call there. Right in the ear of Matt Potter, one of our officials tonight, along with Jamie Lucky and Justin Porterfield. Walls puts it on the deck. That's a spring on that jumper just before the shot clock expires. No good from time. Moronsky will run things for Duquesne. Dusan Mahorcic about to check back in. Now the timeout at the under 8. Clark behind the back pass. Swatted away from Moronsky as he gets it from Dixon. Bounce pass to Dixon. Uses the window nicely. A little pull-up. I like that in the repertoire for David Dixon.
His last shot before he went out, before the game, when they were shooting around, was right there. And he wanted that before he walked out. Have to always make the last one, and he did.
Oh, quick release from Roach right in front of the Duquesne bench.
Give Ronsky credit for that. Assist as well, Tim, on the basket by Dixon, I believe it was.
Michael trying to fend off time. Mass substitutions. Malcolm Netchis about to come back in for Duquesne. Our first look at him, as well as Horchich and Rozier. Time will shake DeMichael. Splits the double team and gets the foul. A little pushback from Richmond, down 10, but now they pull within 5 as we hit the timeout. Time's going to come back and try to complete the three-point play after a break in the action. Duquesne sprints out to a double-digit lead, but the Spiders stay within hailing distance. We got a good one going here at the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse on a Tuesday night. You're watching Sportsnet Pittsburgh.
The warp rift is expanding.
80 definitely has a skill set. How that fits into the system, that'll be something we can work on.
At the time, we were starting for Delani Hunt from mid-November to early January. Squeezed in 11 starts. Does have 16 points in a game under his belt against Florida. As you were talking about, going through some of his highlights and getting that sort of production off the bench for Chris Mooney is going to be huge because, like, for instance, against Mason, we saw how the starters took control of that game. There are some games where you don't need it. On a night like tonight, Duquesne likes to go deep. You might have to counter by going deep yourself.
That's right. Yeah, time's very quick.
Fortich tries to angle one in.
He's one of those guys who reclassified in order to get his opportunity here. And wow, he almost lost Rozier there.
Fortich struggling from the field so far. He's 0 for 3 to start. King rises and hits. This backcourt gets going. Duquesne's going to have to come up with a defensive answer fast because we saw last time out that snowball rolling downhill for Richmond.
You know, important being good with the ball at guard play is in the Princeton system.
Roach gets the defensive foul, cutting off the lane for Trey Williams. Justin Porterfield blowing the whistle and telling him what he was doing wrong as he was making the call. I don't know if Roach was barking that he wasn't doing anything wrong, but Porterfield disagreed if that was the case. Williams takes another bump for Bigelow. Fortune tries to enter it. These two are going at it down low in the paint, aren't they?
Yep.
Horchich spin move, fall away, and one. Dušan Horchich. That's what they were looking for. They want offense out of him. They're looking for that default. Throw the ball into the paint. Just not going for the guards. Get it to the big man.
Watch us, in fact, do that spin move, which is almost out of control. Regains his sense of being and self there when it did look like he was going to continue to spin out, but he did finish, and it was a soft touch. He's got a lot of background, about a 56% career shooter, and as we've noted in other broadcasts, coming back from some serious knee injuries.
Michael on Bailey now the matchup. Ball goes off the hands of Walls. He's able to corral it. Tyne gets away from Netjes. Now steps back. Pullback move from him, and Walls unable to rebound it over the top of Netjes, so it'll go over to the Dukes.
He basically lost Netjes at the free throw line and was determined to try to get a shot off that step back game.
Duquesne doing a better job of not rushing the offense. That was a real point of emphasis from Keith Dambrod against Dayton. Didn't like the fact that, you know, they shot, I think it was his first 8 possessions, he said, for Dambrod, as more. I think Williams lost that on the way up and it went in anyway. I don't think he had all that, but he still guided it in, and now the Dukes are back up by 7. But the first 8 possessions against Dayton, they shot the ball within 10 seconds. They said, well, what are we doing? We're, you know, making Dayton play defense for 80 seconds in the first, you know, 8 possessions. That's nothing. You're not going to get tired that way. And meanwhile, they were making them work for 20 every time down the court. And that's going to be an offensive foul.
We heard so much about that when Princeton was here early in the season. And the fact that they'll take their time offensively, and you play directly into their hands if you shoot quick. And as Coach told you, that's exactly what Duquesne did against Dayton. It really upset him.
Chris Mooney, having graduated from Princeton in 1994. And when we asked him, you know, to use that tape as a comp at all, and he said in the pre-scout they thought about looking at it as Bigelow misses it. He said, you know what, we're just not enough alike anymore, Princeton and Richmond, as that one's stripped off from Kareem Rozier and go back over to the Spiders. And frankly, Duquesne isn't like what they were against Princeton because they've added new elements in the lineup, namely Dusan Mahorcic.
Right, and I can distinctly recall Coach Dambrot saying after the Princeton game, we got him at the wrong time of the year because that system is so hard to adapt to and face, even if it's not exactly the same Princeton. And he was just trying to get his guys going in the right direction. It was so early. This is like a rematch.
Trying to wall off Bigelow's Bronski when the offensive putback is checked in by Mike Walls. He leads Richmond with 16 offensive rebounds coming into this game. Clark runs out of real estate, finds Mahorcic. He bodies up, and it's rebounded by Bailey.
Went with the left hand there, Tim.
Duke's up by 5. Ready to hit the under 4 timeout. Dixon set to come back in. King up high to Hunt. Walls with the handoff. Grimm trying to stick with King, and he loses it off his foot. And that'll get us to the timeout. King throws the ball skyward in frustration, and the Dukes maintaining the 5-point advantage, 30-25. As we watch going to break, Dusan Mahorcic with the spin. And 1.
Remember this, he leads the team with turnovers at 30. He's got 40 assists and 30 turnovers coming in. And speaking of, Duquesne's been winning that battle so far.
Oh, Clark tried to find Dixon, and he spiked it off the back of the rim and missed the dunk.
Well, the rim's still up.
Barely.
She's still shaking. There's a guy that's like cleaning the floor. I'm thinking, son, get out of the way. It's going to come down on you.
Dixon shooting 48% from the floor of the Spiders. On the season, they're 4th in the A-10 right now at 46. The bounce pass got through, but it goes off of Bailey. No, it's going to stay with Richmond. As Kareem Rozier looks confused back at Jamie Lucky, our lead official tonight.
Yeah, I tend to understand. Let's see what the replay.
Yeah, it looked like it was off of Bailey. Unless my eyes deceive me. They might. Bigelow blocked from behind by Drame. And right before the buzzer goes off, the shot clock rebounded by Drame. The 3 in the corner, no good from Delani Hunt.
Another good lengthy defensive stand there. Multiple now, at least 3.
Ooh, that pass barely missed King's outstretched hand. Dumped down for Clark, and he's fouled on the way to the glass, and he'll go to the free throw line for 2.
I was talking about turnovers and assists. We obviously know how important that is to keep Dambrot, both coaches here, of course. And at least up to the last break, he had 6 turnovers by the Spiders. Duke's only at 3. The Dukes with 7 assists, and only 4 for a team that's built on assists. So that's something to keep in mind. When you look at turnovers, that's something that Richmond is exceptional at. Their 8.3 number is 2nd in the United States. That's turnovers per game. Very, very good protecting the ball. And their assist to turnover ratio is very good. Top 20 in the United States at less than 2. But so far, that script hasn't been written.
Clark, a 70% free throw shooter, makes 1 of 2, and now he's up to 9 points to lead all scorers so far this evening. Roach with 1 3-pointer under his belt. Thought about it. Now he'll decide to tee one up, and that's no good. Dixon, fighting his own man for the rebound, able to possess it. As Drame and Dixon almost knocked it off one another off the headline.
You should think about it. Do you really think he thought about it? Because he gets it and it goes.
Bronski flashes up high. Dixon making his way down low in the paint. Bronski with just 6 in the shot clock. He's got to get going. He runs into traffic with Roach. Drame's going to have to hustle. He's able to get it off before the shot clock expires. Goes off the window. Clark fighting hard for the rebound, and now it's a tie-up. They're going to call a foul over the top on Dixon. He called on the rebounding action.
It was amazing that Phil was able to get that shot to hit rim. I mean, that you talk about rushed.
Yeah, I think Bronski ran out of time and space recognition there where he was in front of the Richmond bench with only 6 on the shot clock. See a replay. Pass comes back to King, able to elude Rozier, working his way around Dixon, kicking it back out now to Walls. King, quick move into the corner. Here's one from way outside. That's no good. Comes down to Clark. Manages to barely stay in bounds and get the ball right back from Ronsky. Under a minute left to go with the Dukes up by 6.
Very good ball movement there, Tim. Didn't cash in.
Good pick from Dixon. He rolls. Rozier gives it to him, and the Spiders lost it. The only guy that was trying to defend him there was King, and that's a big height mismatch.
Sean Rozier looking one way, throwing the other.
Walls has seen a lot of time here. Bailey stepping back. Almost thrown away from King. He's only got 7 to work with. Dixon challenging him. King hoists. And too strong. Now Roche with the second chance. Line drive, and it's good. Boy, he's got a ton of rotation, not much arc. Clark's going to have to hurry. Gets across the half-court line, lets it go. It almost makes it.